Hi, friends. I hope you're doing well today. Welcome back if you're coming back. And if you're new here, welcome. I'm Nikki and I like to chat about history. So, today I want to talk about three famous paintings from history. Now, I recently did a poll asking you guys what you would like to see on my channel, and one of you guys said that you would like to hear me talk about paintings. So, if you're that one person, this is for you. So, the first painting I want to talk about might look familiar because it was all over TikTok a while back. And I don't know if anyone already knew this, but the guy in the picture is not just some random hot guy. He's actually a fallen angel. And that fallen angel is Lucifer, the devil himself. So, a little bit of a backstory. Lucifer was the highest archangel in heaven and was said to be the most beautiful creature that God had ever created. He was a wonderful example of perfection and beauty, a better example than everyone around him, in fact. It's said that Lucifer became too proud and arrogant of his divinity and therefore wanted to take the place of God. And this led to Lucifer persuading some of the angels to overthrow God, and they later waged war on the heavens. These angels on the side of Lucifer were called fallen angels. And after a really intense battle, Lucifer and the other fallen angels were defeated and, quote, cast out into the earth. And it's at this point where we see Lucifer in the painting, cast out of his home and shunned by all of those who used to be close to him. His anger is burning with indignation, showing in his red-rimmed eyes. Every muscle stands out with his seething rage, while other angels just float on their way, seemingly unbothered by his plight. It's here where Lucifer started to plot his revenge, and I think the look in his eyes might show some level of scheming. So we see the context of the subject matter, that's great, but I want to give you a little bit of a backstory of how this painting came to be. So this painting was created in 1847 by Alexandre Cabanel, and he was just 24 at the time. Now, in order to become an established artist at this time in history, you needed to show your artwork in a place where everyone would see it. And a really popular place at this time was the Salon in Paris. Now, the Salon was run by the Académie des Beaux-Arts, while this annual or biannual exhibition was run by the Académie. The French monarchy was actually the sponsor of the event. They just outsourced the logistical work because they didn't want to put in the effort, so the reins were handed over to the Académie, who exhibited pieces pretty much exclusively made by their students, which were approved by a jury of judges. While there were many judges who would consider someone's artwork, there was quite a narrow box of what was considered good art. So they really focused on things like technique, making sure that the brush strokes weren't really visible and making sure that artists could recreate the human form as well as they could. So anything that kind of pushed those boundaries was not seen as good art. Now, in addition to technique, the subject matter was also really important to consider. So the salon would really only show things that portrayed history, mythology, even portraits. So if you were doing anything imaginative, you're sorry, but you're shit out of luck. None of this imagination nonsense. But Alexandre was actually pretty talented. He had some of his works featured in the Salon at just the age of 21, and at 22 he even won a scholarship. While Alexandre had a lot of skill, it's not like he had no criticisms whatsoever. His main critique with his art was that it just seemed pretty flat, like not a lot of emotion in his subjects. Let's just look at this work of Jesus, for instance. I don't know what emotion you're getting from this, but to me it really looks like he's disinterested. I don't know if that would be the case because in this image it's showing that Jesus was on trial at the Praetorium and being confronted by Pontius Pilate. As many know, this confrontation ended in the crucifixion of Jesus. So I don't know if he would be looking this disinterested. Now, this didn't totally screw over Alexandre, but what did was this painting right here of a large-scale nude of the athletic Orestes. The judges hated this painting, okay? They like absolutely demolished it. They said that it was, quote, an oversized and inept composition, end quote. Rest in pieces, Alexandre. So now, at this point, it is comeback time. Alexandre is like pumping himself up. He's really got to knock the judge's socks off. And so he gets busy with his painting. And he finally finishes his fallen angel. Now, He just has to show it to the judges. And he has a good feeling about this one. He's like, this one's going to get me back in the good graces. It's going to be great. So he unveils his painting, and the judges hated this one too. So the judges said that this one was too romanticist in its style. Quick art history 101 lesson. Romanticism was an art movement that showed more grand and imaginative representations. Here are some examples. So these art pieces really valued imagination and emotions rather than logic and reason. And it took a while for Alexander to get back into the good graces of the Académie, but eventually he did. And he went on to create beloved pieces that people really liked, like The Death of Moses and Birth of Venus. Honestly, about the Fallen Angel piece, I think people were just shocked that someone less established had created a piece featuring Lucifer. First off, at this time, Alexander was a student, right? So he wasn't super well established, even though he had a couple of good things featured in the salon. And in addition to that, I think that this piece created some level of sympathy for Lucifer. I don't know about you, but in the context of the story and the emotions on his face, it does make me feel a little bit bad for Lucifer. Like, he just got cast out of his home. Yeah, he was being kind of a douche, but he got cast out of his home and now he's sad, you know? Like, he's really emotional at this point. So I felt a little bit of sympathy for him. Let me know what you think. And that is where I will leave you on the story of the Fallen Angel by Alexandra Cabanel. A rich man's world. All right, so we talked about something a little bit more old school. Now I want to switch gears and talk about something more modern. I want to talk about this piece called Girl with Balloon by Banksy. Now, the piece is showing this little girl who has either let go of the balloon or lost it amidst a strong gust of wind. Banksy paired the original graffiti mural with the phrase, "There is always hope." Most people agree that this artwork is portraying the innocence of childhood, hopes, dreams, and the overall message to remain optimistic in times of difficulty. One article said, quote, "Viewers of Girl with Balloon cannot help but feel empathy for the young child's loss. But at the same time, her outreached hand embodies a determined and admirable longing for something better." End quote. Now, before we really dig into Girl with Balloon and the story behind that particular piece, I want to set the stage and let you know about Banksy's rise to fame, because it's kind of a roller coaster and I'm not even going to touch on everything in this video. So Banksy is the name of an English-based street artist who combines graffiti art and murals with themes of political and social commentary. Banksy has managed to become a household name, but we don't know his identity. Other than that, we don't really know much about the person or the people behind the art. I will be referring to Banksy with he, him pronouns because it's generally accepted that Banksy is a man, but we don't know for sure. Since Banksy got his start as a graffiti artist in the 1990s, his work was on public display for a very long time, and it still is. So people really saw his artwork and loved it. It wasn't just the public who wanted his art, though. It was also the wealthy elite. They liked this edgy new art that said, "Screw the establishment," and they were willing to shell out the big bucks for it. Banksy sold many pieces at various price points, but it didn't stop them from making really blunt comments about the greed of the wealthy elite and criticizing our structure of our society overall as a whole. One such criticism came in the form of one of their shows in 2006. The show in LA was called Barely Legal, and it was held for free at a warehouse. So the show featured many of Banksy's works, like this one here where the text says, "I can't believe you morons actually buy this shit." However, the main attraction was the elephant in the room. Literally. There was a giant elephant in the room that was painted to kind of match the wallpaper, and this was all for a reason. Flyers distributed to the crowd made the point that there's an elephant in the room. 20 billion people live below the poverty line. And I get the point, but I kind of wish that they hadn't painted the elephant. I don't know. I just hope the elephant was okay. I don't know. I just hope the elephant was okay. And I'm telling you this because I want you to know that Banksy is an artist who is okay with ruffling some feathers, which is exactly what he did in 2018 when Girl with Balloon went up for auction. It may not have been quite as big as an elephant in the room, But in true Banksy fashion, it shocked the world. So on this day in October of 2018, Girl with Balloon was sold for $1.4 million. But as the gavel struck down, the painting started to shred itself. Banksy later admitted that he had created some sort of mechanism inside of the painting to shred the canvas when someone had bought the painting. So now this piece that somebody had bought for so much money was partially destroyed. And I say partially destroyed because the shredding mechanism didn't actually work completely. It went halfway down and then stopped shredding because it malfunctioned. So while this piece was shredding itself, art collectors and observers alike just had to watch in shock and horror because they couldn't stop it from happening, right? Like they couldn't even process it, I bet. But this marked a moment in art history, right? And it had an event that was a social commentary and a piece of art that would go along with it. And this piece became a talking point for people to reflect on the idea of capitalism, how you can assign value to art, and even if it was a destruction of art or a creation of it. Many people saw this act as a creation of new art because this static piece had gone to a more dynamic performance piece, and it changed from its original creation. And on top of all of this, the piece was given a new name called Love is in the Bin. With this new and very public transformation, it's not surprising that the price would also change, right? I told you before the shredding, this piece had sold for $1.4 million. Later in 2021, this piece did not only double, but it absolutely blew everything out of the water, right? Like it sold for $25.4 million. I think this story was really interesting because I think it forces you to think about how you would assign value to art, right? Like one person might not think that this value is anywhere near $25.4 million, right? It's just a shredded up piece of canvas to some people. But to others, it signifies a moment in art history, like I was saying. There's an exact moment tied to this piece. Let me know what you think. Like, would you pay a stupid amount of money for this piece? Or are you kind of in the camp of like, it doesn't matter. It's cool and all, but don't really care. So that is where I will leave you on Banksy's Girl with the Balloon. So this is the last piece I want to talk to you all about. It's called The Storm on the Sea of Galilee by Rembrandt van Rijn. It's also another religious painting, but the story might not lead where you think. So this painting is showing us Jesus and his 12 disciples. The men are caught in a storm and trying to just get through it. Before the storm started, Jesus was like, okay, I'm gonna have a nap. See y'all later. Peace. And he goes to the back of the ship. But after a while, the storm starts picking up and it's getting really bad. So some of his disciples are going to go wake him. Now, I want you to look at this guy here, the one holding the rope. That's actually not one of the disciples. That's Rembrandt, the artist. He painted himself in there to, I guess, be a little Easter egg. It might not have just been an Easter egg, though, but more of a commentary of his own life. See, Rembrandt's life was just filled with turmoil. He lost 3 of his 4 kids, his wife, and then his mother. After all of this death, the artist was hit with bankruptcy. He was absolutely just getting ravaged by life. So it makes sense that he would depict himself in this moment of chaos, right? Well, after all of the chaos in the painting, it said that Jesus said, "Peace be still," and the sea obeyed him. So everything returned back to normal. And I think that this is Rembrandt's way of saying that, hey, these guys got through this really tough storm. I got through my turmoil. You can get through yours too. And I think that's a really cool sentiment. Now you might think, wow, this is a really beautiful painting. Where can I go see it? Well, as of right now, you can't see it. The painting was in the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum in Boston, but in 1990 it was stolen in one of the most infamous art heists in history. 2 of the art thieves were disguised as police officers, and they tied up security guards and then for the next hour just kind of looted as many expensive art pieces as they could. To this day, the FBI don't know who committed the crime. They think it might be more of a criminal organization rather than just one person, because of how highly planned out everything was. But there's not much they can do other than like gather witness testimonies or, information from people who come forward and then just interrogate the people who are suspected to be involved. This video is already getting a little too long, so I apologize, but I won't go into the nitty-gritty details of the heist. But if that's something you're interested in, let me know. Like, if you guys want to see something about that, I would be okay with making a video on it because, like, I don't know, I guess I'm confused why people would want to steal art in the first place. Like, are there really, really rich people who are willing to shell out millions of dollars and then just like hide the painting, or just say it's a recreation or something or a copy? I feel like if I bought something for that much money, I would want people to know, I'd be like, this is the Mona Lisa. It's actually real, right? Anyway, if you did visit the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum today, you would see an empty frame where the storm on the Sea of Galilee was. If you know anything about the missing artwork, you could make yourself a pretty penny because there is a $10 million reward for any information that comes forward that leads to the recovery of all of these art pieces. You could buy almost half of Love is in the Bin by Banksy with that money. Maybe it could be cut in half and be called another performance piece by that point. That's all I have for you today. I know the last story was kind of short, but I thought it was really fascinating that Rembrandt included himself in the painting and also that it was stolen and nobody knows where it is today. Overall, this was a really fun video to make. So if you want more commentary on art pieces or paintings, let me know because it was really fun. Also, if you want me to make some videos about theories of Banksy's identity in another video, or discuss that art heist I was talking about that resulted in the theft of the storm on the Sea of Galilee, let me know if any of those interest you. If none of them do, I would still really like to hear that so I can pivot and move to something else. But that's all I have for you today. Bye!